Our next session is Unpacking Success, Crafting a Lasting Brand in a Changing World. We have Val Dediu, the VP of Growth Marketing e-commerce at Away, and from Shopify, Sandy Jeong, the Field CTO. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome Val and Sandy.
A message from Away to those trying to follow in our footsteps. To match our style, our durability, our attention to detail, our smoothness, and our ability to pack more into every trip. Go ahead, keep trying. And don't just take our word for it. It's good to get away. Shop in store or at awaytravel.com.
All right. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I see you with that applause. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the last day of Commerce Next. We're so excited to be here with you today. I'm Sandy from Shopify, joined here by my friend Val from Away. And we're so excited to talk about crafting a lasting brand in a changing world. So Val and I actually had the chance to first meet at a women's conference a few months ago, Women in Retail Leadership Summit. And we had a fabulous dinner together near the beach, talked everything under the sun except for business. So we get the opportunity to talk about business in front of you all today. So Val, I'd love the audience to get to know you a little bit better. Can you tell us about your personal career journey?
Of course. Hi, everyone. It's quite the spotlight, literally. I started my career in management consulting, advising companies across industries on big strategic problems. When I say across industries, it truly was across industries. Think anything between private banking to national airlines to one of the largest vodka manufacturing in the world. So literally everything. And honestly, it was such a great crash course into analytical thinking, strategic frameworks, and the luxury of getting access to executive level teams so early in my career, which was invaluable. But I was really craving more ownership, not only in defining the strategies, but actually implementing them and learning from it. What works, what doesn't, and why not. So as one does coming out of consulting, I decided to pursue my MBA at Harvard and then moved into consumer tech, where it was the intersection of data, creativity, the need to understand the customer behavior in such a dynamic space that just really clicked with me. So I've been in growth marketing and e-commerce for over a decade now. Started with performance marketing roles at Rue Guild Group, working on fashion off-price with the Rue La La and Guild brands. And then I joined Away, where I'm responsible for driving growth across the entire customer lifecycle, primarily for our D2C e-commerce channel. When I think about what drew me to Away almost 3 years ago, I would say number one is the strength of the brand. I generally have not experienced so much love and passion as I feel from both our customers and our partners as I do at Away. It was the clarity of the mission, and then the opportunity to help write the next chapter of growth for a brand like Away at a very exciting stage in the customer journey. Mm-hmm. And I'm just very passionate about building high-performing teams, the ecosystems around them, with the tools, the partnerships, the processes that enable them. And in the end, whether it's building something from the ground up or optimizing something that's already existing, I just love driving for impact, and there's a lot of opportunity for that at Away.
Amazing. So I would venture to guess that everybody in this room is familiar with Away, but for those who aren't, can you tell us about the brand and what makes it so special?
I'll take it one step further and say I would love to believe that many of you have traveled with one of our bags to Commerce Next. Thank you. I see some nods. Thank you. We've been committed to making travel more seamless since 2016, when we launched with our perfectly designed carry-on. It was very thoughtfully designed not only to look great, but also to be highly functional and solve for real traveler pain points, right? And the rest is luggage history. We've disrupted the hard-side luggage market, but have since expanded both our luggage assortment into more materials, more silhouettes, but also into bags and travel accessories. What's true is that brand DNA, that it's, we decided to prove that you don't have to sacrifice style for function, right? And it's that mindset that I think allowed us to be loved by, our products to be loved by millions around the world. And for the massive opportunity that we have, not only creating and selling amazing products, but building a modern travel lifestyle brand that can evolve just the way people travel for the world today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What I find fascinating about Away is that you completely disrupted what is a really utilitarian category. I think before Away, I never really thought of luggage as something that had to match my personal style. And I have friends who like to match their luggage to like a trip theme or wherever they're going or an outfit. And that's something that Away made possible. So how was Away able to disrupt such a utilitarian category?
Of course, it has to start with the amazing product, right? And when you look at the luggage market back in 2015, 2016, you either had very cheap and flimsy options or very expensive and over-engineered products. So what we offered was something that was stylish, durable, and accessible. And then we built our entire D2C model around just that ultra focus on exceptional quality, customer experience, but it's beyond product. I think, to your point, luggage was seen as an object that was helping you get yourself from point A to B. But when you think about the essence of travel, it's just so much bigger than that. I think many of us are probably urging to escape our offices and embark on our next journey. Travel is about connection, it's about discovery, it's about a lot of firsts. And we wanted to create a product and a brand that truly embodied the spirit of travel. And we believe that travel can be truly transformative. I say that, and it's not an understatement or selling it because of the brand, I generally can say that travel changed my life. I grew up in Moldova, a small country in Eastern Europe. It's about the size of Connecticut, just to put it into perspective. And my first big travel outside my home country was as an exchange student in high school here in the United States. I feel like we all know that when you grow up in one place, it's easy to believe that the world is only as big as what's around you, or the possibilities are only as big as the walls that you can see. So for me, that trip as a teenager was just life-changing. It made me bolder, dream bigger, it changed my worldview, and I generally don't think that I would be on stage here with you today, Sandy, representing a brand like Away, if not for that journey. And that is very much at the core of our brand. Our brand belief is the more we travel, the better we become. Mm-hmm. And we've built a product and a brand that reflects how people feel about travel. And I think honestly, it's like one of the most exciting things about working for Away. It's the storytelling, the emotional connection that we were able to build, because it's much harder to replicate brand equity and community than it is to replicate a zipper, some wheels, or even a beautifully looking luggage.
Yeah, I think Away really perfectly captures the possibilities of travel and how it can transform your life. I love that. So Away was founded in 2015, which is around the same time as my former company. I used to work at Glossier before joining Shopify. And that period of time is a really fascinating time in retail or commerce history, because the mid-2010s, there was a huge rise in direct-to-consumer brands like Away and Glossier. So what do you think it was about that period of time that enabled brands like Away to break through in the market?
Well, I assume most people in the audience would know it was the perfect congruence of forces that created that perfect storm for the D2C wave, right? I think you had social platforms leveling the play field, right? You could all of a sudden, even emerging brands could establish a very direct line of communication with their audiences without the need of massive marketing budgets or middlemen, right? So I think that was definitely step one. The second one is, when you think about the tech infrastructure, there was a maturity, and you had tools like Shopify, Stripe, or Facebook ads that all of a sudden you could have small teams able to build, launch, and scale without needing massive resources. All you needed was a good product, a strong brand point of view, and then really understanding your audience. And then third, I think it was a shift in how consumers were selecting the brands they choose to buy from. I don't think it was more around a brand wanting to find a brand that represents you, a brand that stands for something, not only sells something. And again, as I was saying, we were from day zero, it was more than just the luggage. It was about that emotional connection and embodying the spirit of travel. So that actually endured like Away, I think it was the brands that were able to evolve with the customer, invest in brand equity, but also the operational depth and discipline that's beneath the surface. Mm-hmm. And those are some of the things that are not as easy.
I think that's a really good point, because the tools and kind of the environment enabled you to reach your audience very closely and then grow very quickly. But the brand has to last, right? The brand can carry you so far, but the business has to match. So now Away is about to celebrate 10 years in business, which is incredible. I almost can't remember a time before Away was around as a brand. And I'm sure the business looks completely different now than it did 10 years ago. So what are some of the new challenges that you've faced as a business, and how have you had to shift your strategy as a result?
10 years is a massive milestone for us and something that we're excited to start celebrating. And we've come a long way. We started as a D2C startup. Now we're omni-channel global brand. Of course, it brings a unique set of challenges, rising competition, rising customer expectations, and increasingly complex macro challenges and uncertainties. I would say for us, it's like being very intentional and disciplined around staying true to what the secret sauce and what made Away. And that's being design forward, customer obsessed, purpose driven, but also tapping into new channels. So omni-channel expansion is definitely a big strategic pillar for us, and it was something that we really took our time to get right and to even dip our toes into that. So as of recently, we're available at Amazon, Nordstrom, or Dick's Sporting Goods. And when you think about our D2C channels, and we have awaytravel.com and we have 17 stores, that remains our foundation. These are inherently the channels where we can have the deepest customer relationships, the control over storytelling in our brand, and of course our customer data. And this is also where we can launch new products and learn directly and test before we scale. But we also saw both massive opportunity in expanding our reach with our wholesale partners, and also we heard directly from our customers. So 85% of our customers say that they want omni-channel shopping experience. And we also knew that we had a lot of demand in terms of search volume for Away on Amazon. Mm-hmm. So it was, we took our time, but we're excited to expand our reach while maintaining brand equity. And it was just, we were very intentional in selecting the partners that lived up to the standards and the brand values that we want to maintain. Mm-hmm. So that's one. The second is how we handle product innovation. And you can imagine that when you're driving for growth, it's easy to get distracted by trends or industry noise. For us, back to what made Away so special was the commitment to designing and innovating on real problems that travelers faced. So I'll give some examples. We launched our kids collection recently, and when you think our core audience, we wanted to have a product that evolves with our customers as they enter new life stages. Or our stadium bag, it's a clear, beautiful crossbody bag, and that's in direct response to the rise in travel for going to events, whether it's concerts or sporting events. Or Featherlight is a bags collection that was built on the feedback that our customers love our durability and style, but they wanted something that's just much lighter in terms of weight. And all of these examples are drivers behind just the massive growth that we see in the bags category. We grew double-digit last year just in bags alone. Mm-hmm. So we talked about omnichannel, we talked about product innovation. The third one is operational excellence, and I guess you could argue that that's table stakes, but if you think about the massive investments we've made in our infrastructure, it's really to set up to support the scale, the agility, and the sustainability and how we want to grow. Mm-hmm. So overall, I would say it's less about growing at super fast and breaking things. It's more just being very thoughtful in how we show up and how we stay true to what made Away.
Yeah. So as you're thinking about entering those new channels, you mentioned that the channels have to align with the brand, but it can be really easy to kind of lose focus on what made Away special in the first place. And how do you maintain that focus while you are growing really quickly?
Yeah, I think it's back to that intentionality and clarity. It's clarity as to what is your brand DNA. Very intentional that every single product, campaign, or channel is a direct extension of the brand. And I do think it's very easy to get pulled into trends or industry noise. I would say the best way for us to stay grounded on this is staying super close to our customers. Whether it's customer reviews or surveys, my favorite example is what we call Zone 1. And that's our community of highly engaged, a small community of highly engaged and loyal customers. Think of it almost like having our internal focus group of Away customers. that they get a sneak peek into our products that are in development, and we get continuous real-time feedback on products that our design team is exploring and launching. I'll give a couple of standout examples from products that came out of our collaboration with Zone 1. So one is the Featherlight Weekender. Again, we know the Weekender shape. Some people just love it. At the same time, we consistently heard that, especially when fully packed, the traditional Weekenders could be very heavy and uncomfortable. So building on that, our team designed the Weekender, but in our Featherlight fabric. It's buttery soft, it's still durable, it looks great, and it's under 2 pounds when empty. And even in the first 2 weeks when we launched, we exceeded our sales projections by over 200%, and that just speaks to the gap in the market that we saw. I'll give an even bigger one where soft side collection. So for context, soft side is about as big as hard side, so it's half of the luggage market. So obviously it's a massive opportunity that we wanted to get right. We first launched in 2019 with a limited release, got some real feedback from our customers, and then the team took it back and we're relaunching a bigger way just last year. And for me, it just speaks to us having the clarity of what is a standard for what the away style, the quality, the durability, what it means to be at our standards. And even if we really wanted to tap into that massive opportunity, the team took their time to get it right. And innovation doesn't need to be only in like actual new product or massive new collections. It could also come from small things that we're continuously rolling, and that's all based on feedback. Like it's something as small as our customers want a larger laundry bag just to fit more things when you travel, or a more stable and comfortable trolley system. So we're constantly releasing updates both to our core iconic product as well as tapping into new markets, but it is with that discipline, because again, I do think that it's that clarity and focus that is harder to replicate, and that gives us the confidence to continue to be very thoughtful in how we grow.
Yeah, I mean, being willing to wait years to tap into 50% of the market really shows brand discipline and the bar that you have for quality. Yep. So as retailers, everybody in this room, I've been kind of saying tongue-in-cheek, these are dynamic times, right? H1 was really, really dynamic, let's say, or we might say chaotic in other ways, right? We have the big scary T word with tariffs, and I've spoken to some retailers who have rewritten their operating plans over and over again because things just constantly change. You talked earlier about how consumer expectations continue to rise, and with AI just fundamentally changing the way that people work and shop, the ground is kind of shifting underneath us. So how is Away navigating these dynamic times?
I'll start with a personal note, and I generally believe that challenges can provide. The book I've gifted the most is The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. And I think that's true in life as it is in business. And it's truly shaped how I lead for change. I do think that some of the most challenging times can be the catalyst for some of the biggest and most positive change, because in the most challenging times, you have that urgency, that clarity, and that focus that are so unique to enable that. And we're very familiar to most challenging times, and I'll give COVID as an example where for us, sales overnight plummeted by 90% when travel literally came to a halt. But we were able to navigate it and come out on the other side more stronger and more customer-centric. And I think that there are a couple of things that allowed us to do that. I think it goes back to that brand equity and the emotional connection that you can build with your customer. Even if customers were not traveling, they didn't forget about us because we had established that connection with them. Or the second one was just in the agility to pivot very fast. It's anything as small as redefining travel. Travel during COVID might have meant just a stroll to the park, and we adapted our messaging to just reflect the reality. Or we even adapted our product mix and we launched our pet carrier. I want to say that it's like one of our unsung heroes in the product assortment, but it came on the back of changing lifestyle and the massive rise in pet adoption during COVID. Mm-hmm. And then third is the team, where, of course, it's staying purpose-driven, making tough choices, but really with thinking about the long game, not just short-term survival. So something as existential as COVID for a travel brand definitely built a lot of resilience for us and a lot of agility. And honestly, I think we can handle anything, whether it's inflation, tariffs, shifting digital behavior. We are leaning into AI for automation, internal efficiencies. But honestly, I think it's more about that ability to pivot quickly. And I will say, finally, I'm very proud that we were able to maintain our prices, even as some of our direct competitors have already raised prices. It goes back to that discipline and long game, and we're committed to doing what's best for our customer always.
Yeah, amazing. So Val, we're all the way at the end of our session already. I can't believe the time went by that quickly. But thank you for sharing so much about how Away was able to craft this lasting brand. So what tips do you have for the people in this room? What should they do when they get back to their desk tomorrow morning?
Of course. You have this as a slide? Yeah. Okay, so you get one extra bonus from me today, but number one, reconnect with your customer. Real conversations over numbers and dashboards. I think as marketers, we all know that we spend probably too much time looking at numbers and not talking to real customers, but insights and the customer voice is just so much more important than any assumption. Revisit your brand foundation. As we were talking earlier, what is about your brand that will be true even 10 years from today, and how do you use that to guide your marketing, product, and experience? I love the concept of the flywheel, right? Because you need to think in flywheels so that your brand, product, and channels are actually working together to make growth almost feel natural versus in silos. And last, but one of my favorite is, you have to master attribution and incrementality. You can't optimize what you don't measure, so you absolutely need to invest in the tools, the partners, the team that can give you that.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. And thank you for joining us for this conversation.